Hi, Misha here, and this is part 3 in my magazine and pouch series. What it was is I needed to organize my pouches. I picked up a new little, snap together thing the other day. I use these for various things and needed to get the pouches out because I'd had them in a tote and it was just overflowing with pouches and getting harder and harder to find the ones I needed. So I tried to organize them a bit according to caliber and stuff. In part 1, we looked at 7.62 by 39. Part 2, we kind of wrapped those up and we looked at 5.45 by 39. And now in part 3, we're going to kind of get to the more odds and ends. For example, 5.56, but also some stuff that's not, strictly speaking, AK. And no, this doesn't mean I consider the Galil an AK. Still. So with that, let us get in and wrap this up. DMR pouches. And these are all kind of based around the SVD type. But of anything, the SVD is the least AK. Here we have the Romanian PSL pouch, which is basically an overgrown AK. And of course, the same can be said for the M76. Here's its pouch. And back here I actually have a Polish pouch that I picked up because it was just too neat not to. But I haven't found anything to put in it yet. But one day, I'm going to be really glad I have this because, one thing, it's in really nice shape. Very Polish. And it holds a very specific type of mag. These are nice because they have 4 pockets. The 2 bottom have their own individual flaps. The 2 top just operate with the top flap. And there's a cleaning kit tube up here. And then in the back you've got plenty of space and little pockets and all kinds of good stuff. You can get a lot in these. And they have 2 big old belt loops in the back. You know the deal. But let's open them up anyway. Each of these are 10 rounds. And they're all rock and lock, of course. The Dragunov mag, 7.62 by 54R. It does have a bolt hold open device. This is quite neat. It's a shame that the Romanian PSL doesn't use the same mags, but they did their own thing. To be fair, they developed this without Russian assistance because they were on the outs. It has a very similar bolt hold open in the back. Same capacity, same cartridge. They're close enough that modifications can be done to make them work sometimes. But with the Yugo, and this is still nice and Cosmo, this is really a different thing. 10 rounds of 8mm Mauser. Still a rock and lock, but totally different body. And no mechanical bolt hold open. All we have is the typical Jugo bolt hold open follower. Since this one came out of one of the lower pockets, it's actually a mag I never bothered cleaning up. I bought this set from Apex years ago. And of course in the back of these we have cleaning rods and stuff for the scopes and manuals. So you can get a lot of neat stuff in the backs of these. But I don't feel like digging them all out right now. I'm trying to get stuff organized, not unorganized. We'll move on. Czechoslovakia. And of course these are VZ58 mags. And we know they're not AKs or even AK derivatives. But of course, because this is a 30-round com block type mag, firing 7.62 by 39, it kind of gets lumped in. Interestingly, these are nice lightweight alloy mags, reminiscent in concept. Yes, Hobo has now joined us. Reminiscent in concept to the Russian, but they have the bolt hold open in the back, and they have a different style of mag catch and a different style of front lock. Again, it's a totally different type. Now this one is an original kind of shiny lacquer finish. And this one here is one of the checkpoint refinish jobbers. Very nice, very lightweight mags. Your typical pouch is just a 4-cell leather, pretty straight and to the point, kind of curved with the 2 belt loops in the back. There are minor variations in the color and styling of the leather, but pretty well the same. There's also this late style canvas pouch here. With the leather trim. I don't have one, but I've read tell there's also a 2-cell pouch for the VZ58. If anyone has one and would love to donate it, that'd be awesome. But the ones we see are always the 4-cell. So, yeah. The Czech Republic. And this is definitely stretching a point to be even in the comm block thing. But it's where they end up. These are CZ805 BREN mags. The original ones, not the Stanag, that are sort of a hybrid between drop-free and rock and lock, 30 rounds. And interestingly, of course they hold 5.56. Czechoslovakia never went to 5.45. They were working on a 5.56 gun, and this is one of the kind of leftovers from the Lada program, an AK-esque or VZ58-esque magazine. Of course, it does have bolt hold open. So when they went to the 805, this was kind of a little holdover from those old days. But it wouldn't last long because by the BREN 2 they were going Stanag. And here are the mag pouches for them. They each hold 2 mags. They're actually quite chunky mags. But neat nonetheless. So that kind of goes in there too. Well, since we've already stretched a point, and since there's room on the shelf, let's go ahead and put the mags from Switzerland on there for the SIG SG550, 551, 552, 553 series. And of course, that firearm does have some AK elements, and Switzerland was officially neutral during the Cold War anyway. Now, there really aren't any Swiss mag pouches as such, at least not in any numbers. Typically, they just kind of made do and put them in pockets and rucksacks. So what I did for mine, I found pouches that fit the best. For the 20 rounders, actually these, they're FAL pouches, but they're perfect for these mags. They hold them just fine. I mean, if you said these were made for it, I'd believe you. For the 30s, we had to be a little more creative. Got a couple here and an Israeli pouch because they are bigger than AR mags. And then I have some more in a Romanian pouch. Like I said earlier, these Romanian pouches are really useful for holding a wide range of things. East German mag pouches are also a good fit for these. But your standard AR-15 Stanag pouch will have a tough time at least holding all 3. So let's look at a couple of variations in mags. The SGG W90 and the 550 originally were made and issued with 20 round mags. In the 80s, that's about all that existed. And these were very well thought out and very well tested mags, even though they're all polymer. I've seen some people kind of disparage these. They may feel cheap to some people, but they are not. They are very durable. And of course they have the studs on the side. And I have 2 versions here. This one, I believe it's this one here, has the law enforcement only markings on it, versus this one. These markings were applied after the '94 assault weapons ban to denote they were imported for government use. Of course, now it doesn't really matter, but it did at one time, and so it's kind of a neat little part of collectible history. Typically, your average serviceman in Switzerland would only have 2 magazines. Well, in the late 90s and early 2000s, as they started trying to export more and more of the guns after meeting the initial demands of the Swiss, this is when the 5.52 came out, the 5.51 got big. They went to a new 30-round magazine, primarily for export, but also some Swiss special forces. And it's just a scaled up 20-rounder, but it is actually made from a different polymer material, more modern. It's got more of a matte texture, and it's got a little more flex to it, whereas this is more rigid. But they are still a rock and lock type mag. They're not drop free like on an AR. And of course they have bolt hold open. And this is effectively the standard now. But these side studs are kind of a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's neat to clip 2 mags together. Has some uses. But it also means that these can hook on to something, especially in like a CQB situation. And it means finding a pouch for them. I mean, these are, look how much space is added because of the studs. And they hook on the edges. So, in the 21st century, Switzerland has gone to an option without the tabs. This isn't the standard, it's just an option. Very smooth. I will say when we had those SGGW07s come in, the one with the full kit, they shipped them with 2 of these, not 2 of these. So for whatever that's worth. So it seems like maybe the Swiss military is using these. But yeah, of course I need these for my guns, but they work really well. And you don't have to worry about them rusting. And finally we come to our last major section here, 5.56, 223, NATO, Remington, what have you, AK mags. I'm not going to have them all, because there are so many variations, and on top of that, because many were just made for the commercial market, and are rare here, for example, Valmet mags or Chinese pre-band mags, they were exceedingly expensive. And when I say that, I mean $300 to $500 per mag in some instances, so F that noise. Let's start with Beryl mags, because I like the Beryl. I own a Beryl, so I have mags for it. We actually have my most modern Polish 3-cell. It's very much a modern nylon material. Still the same old pattern, but you can tell it's newer construction. And then here is a neat mag pouch. I actually got this when I got my first Archer. I imported this directly out of Poland. It is like the Tanto pouch with the semi-hard top, but no pocket on the side for the bipod. And it's internally a wee bit different. And here we have a FAMAS, a French FAMAS mag pouch. That is not Polish, you might have guessed. The Beryl started off taking essentially the same mag as the late Tanto, but it is different. Notice it is marked up here for the right caliber. The angle's a bit different, but more importantly the follower is different, and these actually work really well. And they do have metal lugs. And this was the standard mag for about the first decade of the Beryl's life. At one time, these were lightly used at RTG for like 20 bucks, but I'm told they're harder to get now. And of course, then we have the modern translucent green mag. Again, it's marked for its caliber. This does not have metal lugs, but this is the 2nd generation of polymer. Their 1st generation of polymer, I think they started doing those around 2005, 2006. So that time period, give or take, was more of a clear smoke. And they just didn't quite have the mix right. And it would crack. And they did not make those for more than a couple of years. I've had chances to buy those in the past, but I don't like buying mags I know won't work. And nowadays people want like 80 bucks per mag, so not doing that. But they never really saw much military use because they didn't work. They get replaced by these, and these have been in service for over 10 years now, closer to 15. One other neat thing that's in the modern pouch, it has a spot for the 2-piece Beryl cleaning rod. Some people look at a Beryl and think there should be a rod under the barrel. Nope. For accessories and just being a modern gun, the cleaning rod is in the mag pouch. And finally, we go from FB mags to the relatively new to the market, WBP 20 round so-called tanker mag. And I really wanted a couple of these for my mini Beryl. Plus, tanker mags are cool. And I didn't ask them to, but when I bought a few things from Atlantic, they threw a couple of these in the box for me and said, yeah, try them out. We've been testing them, and so far results are good. So I did actually ask FB in Poland if they were still doing the 20 round mags for the mini. They are not, and they have not for a long time. And I think the 20 rounders may have only been in the true black anyway. Could be wrong on that. So, since I can't get FB, I will go with the BBP. I think this looks super snazzy, says the blind guy, in the mini Beryl. And that's what they're using today. And that'll probably be it, because eventually, sooner or later, they're going to switch over to the Grot. But you wouldn't shock me if in 10 years they still have Beryls kicking around, because they work. Bulgarian 5.56 223 mags. Really as quick as they could after the end of communism. Bulgaria retired 545 and put 556 in its place. So since the mid and late 90s, they've been offering their guns in both 7.62x39 and 5.56. So these are military type mags. In the beginning, they were just these waffle blacks. Now this is a newer generation. The original ones had the stripper clip cuts, and they just felt a little different. Kind of difficult to explain on a camera, but they've changed them a little bit over the years. But these black 30s seem to work quite well. But about the same time, FB Radom in Poland was introducing their first generation of smoke mags that had spiderweb crack problems. Bulgaria tried doing the same. This is a generation 2 or maybe even 3 now, 20 round smoke mag. And again, kind of like in Poland, in Bulgaria they experienced the same cracking issues. And I've noticed with the Gen 2s, they've made this a little thicker, heavier up here. You still do have metal reinforcement lugs. And I will say, even if a mag is spiderweb cracked, a lot of times it's still workable. It's cosmetically unattractive, and it may not last forever once that happens, but it's not like as soon as you see a small crack, it's just immediately throw it in the trash. I would probably retire it to only being a range mag, but they still usually work for several more times before the crack becomes so bad the feed lips get wonky. Now, I've seen 30 round clear, those are out there, and the 20s. I have never seen or had a 20 round black. That's not to say they haven't made them. I don't know. But all the blacks that I've seen in this country have been 30. So it seems like there are 3 main variants here. And this is also what they ship with their LMG. I don't think they do a 40 or 45 round extended mag. If I'm wrong, do please let me know. And that's kind of where we're at with the 5.56 mags. I could talk about the Serbian, but the only ones I have are the polymers, and we just recently featured those in the video where I talked about top 5 5.56 AKs, so you can look at that. There are, of course, the older steel ones that they did, and a couple of variations of the polymer. Beyond that, of course, there are 2 or 3 different types of pre-manned Chinese. There are the Finnish mags. There's actually 2 types of Finnish mag. Yeah, but those are all very rare, and they're usually... Oh, there's the Uyghur from East Germany. There's also the Romanian copy of the Uyghur. used in their PM96, which is a steel mag. So there's some stuff, and of course there's the Russian mags, but these are just the mags for the guns that I myself own. So with that, I have one more set to get on the rack. So let's do that and wrap things up. Finally. Israel. Galil. And no, this doesn't mean I now consider the Galil an AK. I'm telling you guys, by not considering it an AK, I'm actually giving it more honor and respect. Trust me. I have a few more pouches that I probably don't have out right this second, but probably the most interesting one is the double poucher here, because it doesn't hold two of the same size. It holds one 35 round in the front and one 50 round in the back. Just kind of an odd concept, kind of a very odd pouch. Typical Galil mag. And of course the jumbo mag. I only have a couple of these. Here's another 2-cell Galil pouch, a little more modern style, and it just holds two 35 rounders. It's actually kind of hard to find pouches to hold Galil mags because they're just ever so slightly too long to fit in a lot of pouches. Oh well. And then I've got, I think this might be Swedish or just kind of generic NATO. I have a few of these pouches, I like them. But I have some of the Orlight 35 round mags. The mags kind of suck, but they're neat to have. They are lightweight, and they do have metal reinforcement. Stay. So yeah, that's also in the pile here. Just getting room on the shelves. Well, since I've got all the main ones I wanted on there, I'm kind of filling up space with tangentially related things. And here we have, of course, that VZ58 canvas pouch again. And here we have the kind of the baby version of it. This is what they used for their submachine gun. Holds 5 rounds. But actually inside it, I found this is the perfect fitting pouch for my KR9 magazines. I mean, they fit perfectly. There's even a spot on the side for a sectional 9mm cleaning rod. How great's that? Now, of course, the KR9 feeds from Vitiaz or Sega 9 style magazines, but because of the sanctions, we can't import them. But I will say that Kalashnikov USA does a banger job of replicating these. Steel floor plate, polymer body, even has stripper clip cutouts on the top. And these are pretty much straight insert, but they have a catch that's nominally rock and lock too. But it is a AK SMG, and there is, like I said, room on the shelf, so we'll put it on there. I really like these pouches. You could get these for little if nothing from Apex, and they were in brand new condition, and they actually hold quite a few great different types of SMG mags. Even like Glock 33 rounders fit. Well, let us move on. And finally, our final section, Russian shotgun 12 gauge magazines, both Sega and Molat Vepr. And I have actually two original Russian thigh pouches here. Would it shock you to learn these came from Legion USA a few years ago when Alex was still working there? He got a lot of cool stuff, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of neat, they got some padding here. Lots of straps and stuff. And they hold either 8-round mag really well, because 8-round is the standard. But we do have a couple of other sizes, so I just kind of put those in whatever pouches they'd fit in. Let's take a look. 5 and 8 round for the Sega, 5, 8, and 10 for the Vepr 12. And of course the Sega mags, these are the rock and lock without the bolt hold open, because that's what we have mostly in the USA. And for a long time the Sega 12 shotguns came in as hunters, and we only had the 5 round mags. Heck, at various times in history, we were just happy to get spare 5 round mags, and it's enough of a handful on its own. But for military and police use in Russia, 8 rounds is the standard. And notice how the back is kind of flared out a bit with some ridges. That's to help with insertion and getting it out, because these can be a little tricky when full. And they do work really reliably. These are the 2 factory mags available, although there's plenty of aftermarket from the US and even a few in Russia. And they're not interchangeable with the Molots, because these are drop-free magwell with bolt hold open capabilities. And the 5 rounder here is what ships with most shotguns. And Molot, when they make these, they're pretty much for the US market. They just take a standard 8 rounder, like here, and they cut it down. Why not? Just to compare size, here's the Sega on top of the Molot. The Molot is perhaps slightly bigger. Very similar. And as with the Sega, 8 is the standard capacity. And it worked really well. There's not really trouble getting these in the guns. But there's also a much larger 10 rounder available, because why not? But it is quite a bit longer. Is almost as much of a difference there between the 5 and the 8 for 3 rounds as the 8 and the 10, because it's not, of course, just the length of the magazine. It's also needing a stronger mag spring. And at one time, these shotgun mags really were hard to get in America. They're probably easier now than they were years ago. I remember just dreaming of getting an 8 rounder, but luckily for a few years we could get them. But of course now they're sanctioned. There's still places that have them. New old stock though. And we're done. It was good to get this kind of finally all organized, and I was able to get a little more on it than I originally thought. In fact, things ended up going so well that I ended up picking up a second one for various things. Right now there's nothing on it aside from just a few bric-a-brac, but that will be probably for FAL mags, G3 mags, maybe AR-15. I think I'll have room. But yeah, this is primarily done for my AK and assorted others. And as I said in the beginning, since people had asked me about doing another pouch video, since I needed to do this anyway, it seemed like a good opportunity all around. Because the thing about doing a pouch video is dragging everything out and then putting everything back up. It's a day's chore if you really want to do it well and put everything back neatly. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. And as I said in the beginning, the Patreon's got a longer version, but for YouTube, I did my best to shorten this. I know none of these videos were exactly short, but I did what I could to streamline them. So, hope everyone enjoyed this. Hope everyone's having a good month so far, and as we roll into the holiday season, everyone's doing well and keeping healthy and safe. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you might check out the link to the Patreon page where you can check out some perks and tiers and all that there good stuff. With that, this is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.